Call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Dr. Ball.
Yes. Roger, if you'll lead us in our invocation, please, and our pledges.
Yes, ma'am. Here, please stand. Lord, you called us to move together, to avoid the distractions of the world, and to serve those around us. Bless this meeting with your love and guidance. Help us to be open-minded and to listen to others with respect. We are grateful for the opportunity to come together as a group of people who share a common goal. Grant us the grace we need to work together, trusting in your strength and power. Please send your love and protection to those who are in attendance of this meeting. Bless the hearts and minds of our leadership and grant them wisdom to make good decisions. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Okay, did we have anybody sign up to speak?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay. We're moving on to the consent agenda. Board members, you've had that in front of you. Do you have any questions or anything you need more discussion on? If not, I need a motion.
A motion. A second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Thank you. Items of information, construction update.
Yeah, Thomas is going to go over a few items that we've got going on this summer, so he's going to just briefly cover some things.
Did we get Flo into the meeting?
She couldn't log. She's in there now? Oh, yes, she's there.
Okay.
I'm on here, thank you.
So for the construction report this month, there's several capital projects that we've got going on. If you haven't been over by the Southwest Complex, the new turf or the old turf's been removed. The new turf is all laid out and has been sewn in and nailed on the edge. They are currently getting ready to start the sand and rubber ballast infill. Their plan is to be done by the end of the week, hopefully with that field completely. So then they're going to start moving on to baseball and softball. We actually have some renderings that we're going to be bringing to subcommittee next month to look at on the overall visual of what it's going to look like at baseball and softball at both schools. The lighting retrofit that's going on with FSG, they're finished at the Spring Sports Complex. They're currently working and probably have another week and a half at the stadium, at Southwest High School Football Stadium. Then they'll be moving to baseball and then back to softball, kind of working in transition with the turf guys as they go through. They're going to try and hit and miss each other.
Did you say lighting?
The lighting, yes ma'am.
Okay.
We're replacing all the stadium lighting here on the main campus, going to LED over the old HID lights. We have finalized the visioning and basically the pre-design process of the new central administration building and community center. So RVK is working now on the design with the program that they have, and we will probably be having a lot more meetings, and you will start seeing them now at subcommittee and at the board meetings after this month. You'll probably start seeing Heath and Carr here giving their updates on that project. The new elementary school, one of the second bond project that we're doing, we had our initial kickoff meeting with Marmon Mock and the design team last Thursday. So we are waiting for them. We're working out, negotiating fees right now, working on the overall schedule of the building and getting ready to decide on what the procurement method is going to be for that one, most likely the CM at risk. And going back to the new administration building, next month we will probably be bringing back the CM at risk. We're going to be putting that out next week, and so it will probably be back and ready to be approved for, that way we'll have a contractor on board for that new building here at the main campus.
I have a question. On the new
ma'am.
elementary school, so we just chose the architect, correct?
Correct.
And so they have not started any kind of...
Nothing at all. What we did, we had an initial kickoff meeting. We're negotiating pricing, fees, to make sure that we agree to something that we feel like is equitable for both sides. And then we were going to start on the visioning process.
Okay.
Bringing in folks to sit down and kind of go through that process to kind of get ideas out and get some groups together. So we're hoping to have a group probably, I can't remember the date here, in the beginning of August. maybe after that have the subcommittee meet,
Okay.
and maybe some groups of people, then after that, start bringing in maybe some teachers, some principals, and have a couple of groups that kind of go through that process.
So we'll be, the ones that, the board members that are on the subcommittee,
Correct.
then we'll be in on the
Correct.
initial
That
thoughts.
visioning, and then we will bring it to the board meeting to show all the board members kind of where we are, and we'll keep doing that every month.
Awesome, okay.
So, like he said, we're doing just negotiation of fees and schedule of the project right now. Later tonight, there is a action item to approve the architects for all of the bond projects, or for some of the bond projects that we're putting out. We also have our one from previous, before the summer started, y'all approved new fire alarm systems at 4 campuses. They're currently on the second one, but the third and fourth one are starting this week, so we should be totally completely done with that before the start of school. And that was Sky Harbor, Spring Sports Fieldhouse, Spicewood, and Bob Hope. And if you remember, those are the ones that they're obsolete panels. We couldn't get parts for them anymore, so we had to swap out the main panel and all the smoke detectors and pool station devices. So, and then the last item, it's not really construction, but just so everybody knows, we currently are running another online auction because we did a full swap out of elementary furniture at all the libraries, and it completely filled us up in our storage area for Sky Harbor. So we currently have an auction online. It actually opened up Friday and is running for 7 days, and then it'll close, and we'll be selling those items. So next month I'll be able to bring you the results from that.
Thank you,
Questions?
Thomas. Monthly tax report?
Right under 97%, so our goal over the year is about 99.5, so we're getting closer. A couple more months, and I think we'll be there.
Thank you, Brandon. The monthly finance report, the investment report.
Just real quick on the investment report, we
Uh-huh.
have our investments in there with our interest, but also put on your desk our monthly report. We weren't able to get it in time. They
Okay.
sent it to us on Friday, so it's about the market and how the market's going. So it's a good read if you like
Okay.
investments.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on those two things? Okay. Report on gifts and bequests, enrollment report. Where do we stand on the enrollment?
Well, we ended the year about 13.7, close to 13.8. So we're projecting to be at 13.9, close to 14 to start the school year.
Awesome.
I think we're going to have some good increases.
Okay.
So right now we don't have anything because
Yeah.
it's the same from the
Right.
May.
Sorry. Anybody have any questions on the purchases over 50,000? No. State accountability update.
Yes, we have Lisa Bolte.
Good evening, Madam Vice President and esteemed board members. So today I'm coming to you with a brief overview of the changes that we're anticipating seeing in our A through F accountability. So TEA has been working on this refresh for over a year, and we are now at the point where they have published a draft manual of all of our accountability rules, and that is out for public comment. And once the public comment period closes, then TA staff will review and take it to the commissioner for possible changes. We'll get the final accountability manual in September. We're looking at mid-September, and then we'll have our A through F ratings for 2023. They're projecting September 28th right now for the release date for that information. So the refresh changes that TEA is putting in place really boil down to 5 things. They're updating their cut points and targets. They're updating the CCMR indicators. They're improving our ability to recognize growth, which is domain 2. They're narrowing the focus with the closing the gaps domain 3. And then they are completely revamping the district overall rating methodology. So let's look at it domain by domain. So first, we're going to look at domain 1. This is where we've got some changes in cut scores and targets. So the first part of domain 1, for elementary and middle school, there is no change because it's 100% based on STAR. With the high schools, There is a change with CCMR graduation rate because they are split 40% STAR, 40% CCMR, and 20% their graduation rate. So what they're using has not changed since 2018, but the cut points are changing. So domain 1 with just STAR, that hasn't changed at all. It's the same as it's been since 2018. We're looking at the percent at approaches or above, plus the percent at meets or above, plus the percent at masters or above, and you take that number, divide by 3, and that gives you your raw score, which is then scaled to determine if it's an A, B, C, D, or F. And the scale for an A remains the same. It's still a 60. 60 scales to a 90, which is an A. So no change on that part. The biggest change for the whole system is under CCMR. Now, we're used to CCMR having a slight change about every 2 years because they update which industry-based certifications they allow for this CCMR score based on what's going on with industry. But they have looked at that back in 2017 when they first set the cut points. Of course, we'd like 90% of our children to be college or career or military ready. So they set in 2017 an A to be the equivalent of 60% of our children because when they looked at the data, only about 47% of the students were meeting that mark across the state. But we've done great work. Everybody has worked really hard on making sure our children are college and career military ready. And now the average is much higher. So they are adjusting that cut point, and it's moving from a raw score of 60, equating to a scale score of 90, an A. Now the raw score will have to be an 88 for it to score to a 90, an A. So that is a huge increase for that expectation. So that's where the biggest change is for domain 1. And again, college and career ready, there's lots of ways a student can be determined to be college and career ready. It could be through a test. It could be through actually signing with either the United States Armed Forces or the Texas National Guard. And that had been there and had gone away, and it's now back again. It'll be back for 2024. And then our IBCs completing that. They are going to be adjusting that. It's going to be phased in, but in a couple of years they will actually not only have to have that certification, but they will also have to have an aligned program of study. And they know that we can't just drop everything and immediately have that because this data runs a year behind, so they're going to phase in that expectation. But it all comes down to a student might have many of those indicators that they've achieved, but we get 1 point in our numerator for each student who has at least one of those indicators. And that's divided by our number of annual graduates, not the cohort, but the annual graduates, the students that actually cross the stage. Graduation is also in domain 1, and there is a slight tweak in that. They are going to increase the cut score for that just by 2 percentage points. So to equate to an A, you have to have at least 98% of your class, your cohort graduating on, and it's either in 4, 5, or 6 years. We're still keeping the 4, 5, or 6 best of, but to have an A, 98% of your students do have to graduate. Okay. With domain 2, this is where we're going to see they're trying to improve our ability to recognize growth. So they're making a change to that. They're changing to a transition table so that all students that take math and reading can count in this domain. So it's all about making sure a student makes at least 1 year of growth. Fourth grade is a lot harder than third grade. So as long as they are at least at the same passing standard that they were the prior year. So if they were masters last year, they're still at masters this year. If they were at meets last year, they're still at meets. They get a full point in our numerator. If they were at approaches, they've made a change with that, and they've also made a change with did not meet approaches grade level. What they've done is they've determined a high end and a low end for both of those, and they've added cut points therein. So now if a child is at high approaches and the next year they're still at high approaches, they're going to give us a half a point. If they were at low approaches and they moved to high approaches, they'll give us a full point. The same with did not meet. A student could fail and still give us points. If they move from low did not meet to high did not meet, they give us a full point. And of course, if they move from high did not meet and they stay still failing, high did not meet, it's a half point. If they move up, then it's a full point. So that's a change in how they're doing it. They did that so that now every child can count. We are now going to actually have it for the first time, this growth measure in place from 8th grade reading to English 1, which we didn't have in the past. We will also have it available for our students that test in Spanish the first year, and then they transition to English on their testing the second year. We will still be able to have that growth measure. They are also adding a bonus. It's the accelerated learning growth measure, and this is focused around those students that are HB 4545 students. So if they failed last year, and we've been tutoring them, and we're making sure that we're following the guidelines of House Bill 4545, giving them those hours of tutoring and intervention that were required. How did they do? Did our tutoring work? And we're going to get points for our growth if that tutoring did work, because if they move from not passing to passing, we will get a point, and it will be in addition to what we get from our annual growth. So it's like extra credit. So that is new. This will be great information because we'll be able to see just from this data if what we did worked. Then on closing the gaps, this is the one that is used for federal accountability. Also, this has probably had one of the biggest revamps because this had been just a yes, no, and we had many, many different groups that we looked at. They're going to narrow that focus, so we're really concentrating on looking at the right things. So instead of yes, no, now there is a 0 to 4 point scale. So you look at, did that number improve and how much did it improve? Did we not meet our target that's 15 years out? If we did, we get 4 points for that one group in that subject. If we didn't meet that 15-year out target, did we meet this year's target? Then we get 3 points for that. If we didn't meet this year's target, did we grow? And how much did we grow? If we made enough growth that we should be on track to meet the target that's 6 years out, then we get 2 points. If we did not make that much growth, we get 1 point. And of course, if we go backwards, we get a 0. So that is a big change. Also, how many groups we look at. For A through F and for our federal accountability for comprehensive support, we're not going to look at all 18 groups. We're not looking at 12 groups. We're going to look at 4 groups. We're going to look at all students. We're going to look at the 2 lowest racial ethnic groups based on their performance from last year. And then we're going to look at a super group. So any student that is identified as EcoDisc, as bilingual, as current special ed, or highly mobile, they're going into what's called a super group, and we'll be looking at, we'll be rated on that group, combined group. That will be for A through F and for comprehensive. For our targeted support and additional targeted support identification, which is a federal identification, they're going to look at all 12 groups to determine that, who qualifies for that intervention, and then they're actually going to evaluate 18 groups. It looks similar to TAPER, where you have all the different groups spread out. Those 18 groups, that's just for report only, so we have that data available. So this is kind of a summary. The changes in our calculation, the STAR performance, there's no change in calculation, there's no change in grading. With CCMR, there's a minor change this year, but a humongous change in our scaling. Graduation rate, there's no change in our calculation and a slight change in our scaling. Academic growth, we've got a new calculation, and we've got those bonus points for our 45-45 success. So that's had to be rescaled because we've changed it. Our relative performance, where we're looking at our EcoDisc performance compared to the other rest of the state, there's no change for elementary and middle school. There's a little change for high school because of the CCMR changes. And then domain 3 has been substantially reconfigured, and so it's had to be rescaled. With the district, up until this point, the district's calculations have been done the same as the high school. That is totally changing. They have decided that it would be a better indicator of how a district is performing if they are given a weighted score. So each campus will be determined how much their weight is. Of course, the more students you have at a campus, the heavier that score is weighted. That their domain score and their overall score will be multiplied by their weight, and then all of those points will be added up to determine the district's overall A, B, C, D, E, F, and each domain rating. So that is a huge change in how we look at that. So that is a very, very brief overview of the changes. If you want to get deeper into the data and the calculations, I'd be happy to meet with anyone who would like to do that. But this is our general overview. If there's any immediate questions that you'd like to offer.
So we won't get our data till September?
That's correct. The end of September is when we'll know our ratings.
What is the general feel in Texas of, are districts worried about falling? Like, is that the general consensus?
And the commissioner has, so this plan has been discussed for almost over a year, like Lisa mentioned. And so throughout the year, there's been just some hyper focus on what the groups are going to be. They're going to be, like in this case, mattering even more and weighing more. And so on our end, in our district, the fact that we have a robust CT program, our college and career readiness, we're not concerned about do we need to add more. I think we have the significant amount of programs in place. And so, but overall, the commissioner also gives some percentages of like how many districts for sure are gonna drop, just based on these new calculations. So when we look at the high school work that is happening, it's even more critical now that we're even more intentional. And so as we graduate the students and congratulate them at the end of the year, is what is every single student that we're congratulating, that are crossing across the stage, what are we offering them? If it's going to be college readiness, military, or if not, then those CTE certifications. And so that's pretty much like at the end of the pipeline. And then for elementary and middle school, just continue to work on those reading and math, those basic skills. The one plus here is that now we can get some growth. Back then, if you were a Spanish-speaking student, take the Spanish test, and then you transition to English, they wouldn't give us any credit for that growth. And so now we're looking at the positive side of this, but overall, they are adding more additional details to every single student of how they grow, and then also the baseline, which domain 2 is all about growth. And so that's the part that collectively as a district we're going to really focus on in order for us to continue to add value for every single student.
But what did the commissioner say, the percentage of school districts that are going to drop?
So the percentage, I think he said like ACE, like what was it?
It was a couple of hundred schools will drop across the state. So
it's almost like, and I don't remember correctly, but I think it was 40 or 60 would remain in what you had in the past.
Okay.
So the other detail to this is the commissioner last June, July, there was a meeting with superintendents and academic leaders also. They mentioned also on us starting to focus on our extracurricular participation. So I know that has been also something that we take care of. But next year they might be adding that into our how many students participate in the secondary, middle school, and how many just participation overall.
Have they already came out with the standards of what they consider to be growth, or is that something we're going to determine ourselves, or are they coming out with those guidelines?
So the skill scores for the high school were already defined, but right now we're pending on the elementary and the middle school. That's why we're waiting for those September reports. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, we don't have anything under administration and human resources. So business and finance, consider approval of an amendment to the 2023-24 compensation plan.
Yes, ma'am. This is just in some additional stipends that we continue to work out over the summer before we start school. One of the biggest pieces to this is next year we're going to be in our, not to get too far in the weeds, but we're going to be in our district captured data planning year for the teacher incentive allotment. So on there's a scale that kind of shows by campus if this was actually in place in 24-25. So in 24-25, teachers that meet the criteria would receive these stipends on top of their salary. We won't have that next year, but we could receive a teacher that comes from another district that already got approved. So we need a scale in place for those teachers that would come into our system, just in case they did, so that we would have this in place. And so this is really for 24-25, but if we would, a teacher would move in and take a job with us that has already been through the process and indicated to receive the stipend, we would have to pay it. So we're putting it in the book now, but this will change also because it fluctuates with our campuses depending on different indicators. And really it's just to retain our best teachers, keep them here, attract new teachers, and also tell teachers, you know, put them where there's a need. So like you can see some of the campuses that are the stipend's a little higher, those are kind of more are at risk, or special populations, those indicators. There's some other stipends on here that we've just been working on and really just kind of cleaning it up. We may have a few more next month, just so we can finalize the compensation plan. And so I'm recommending the board approve the additional stipends for the 23-24 compensation plan.
Okay. We have Daniel who makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
James, thank you. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? Thank you. Consider approval of purchase and installation of security film for instructional sites.
Yes, ma'am. I have Mr. Figueroa. He's going to present on this topic. This is one of the first things we looked at on trying to upgrade our campuses and make it a little more safer. And so he's going to go through the process and the actual vendor that we're choosing.
Good evening, board members. As a result of a continued trend of mass shootings that have occurred nationwide, the state has awarded our district a grant. It's called the School Safety Standards Formula Grant, in an amount of $625,650. One of the main proactive measures that is being recommended for campuses is the installation of blast shatter-resistant film that would be applied to the inside of exterior windows, any windows that an intruder might be able to gain access. So we looked at, we had several vendors come in, we had them measure the different areas, and we have about 29,000 square feet of windows in which we need to apply this security film to. So as the need presented itself, we presented it to our District Safety and Security Committee first, met several times to discuss some of the needs should additional funding come in. And one of the biggest impacts that we felt in terms of security projects would be the application of blast shatter-resistant film to all of our campuses right now. I know there are other projects that we're going to be bringing on board, access control, camera upgrades as part of our security, part of our safety bond that passed, $23 million. But this one is one of the projects that can actually begin installation this fall. So that would have the most impact, and that would be all 19 sites, including SOS and the even the baby room that we have for the parents. So that's one of the things we wanted to make sure. Some of our campuses also have, in addition to the door windows, they have windows such as near the cafeteria or the library that we really want to take care of as well. So in vetting the different vendors, National Glazing Solutions provided the district with the best value for the project based on quality of work, materials, lead time, and customer reference feedback. And there were a couple of districts that we went to visit locally that have worked with this group, and they were really impressed and glad that they ended up choosing them for the project. Great service, in and out, great cleanup. NGS is a member of the TIPS Purchasing Co-op. Estimated cost of the purchase and installation of the security film for all of our district campuses is $399,950. The safety project would initially be funded through local funds. Once the project is completed, the district would then seek reimbursement through the recently awarded School Safety Standards Formula Grant. We're requesting a recommendation tonight that the board approve the recommendation to purchase and install security film from NGS for all of our district campuses at an estimated cost of $399,950.
Now, we have security film already installed at some campuses, right?
No, we have that ballistic, that layered glass that's at the front of the security, the vestibules.
Vestibules.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. So,
Is this the same company, different company?
it's a different company, but we vetted several of them, and they have a direct connection to 3M, and one of the bigger issues that because everybody's working on this project, there are supply chain issues. But they have a great relationship with 3M that they have it in stock, the film that they're recommending.
And so, you know, the glass that we actually have in our vestibules is real bulletproof glass. This is a film. This is gonna be a little different. It's, I mean,
It creates,
Yeah.
what we're looking at is creating time barriers. So if you saw the video at the Nashville shooting,
Yes.
they were able to gain entry by basically shattering the window. And this would create a 2-minute time barrier is what we're looking at for anyone to secure themselves. So they wouldn't gain immediate access.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, board members, we need a motion.
I move.
I second.
Flo seconds. Do we have any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Is this also you?
Yes, ma'am.
Consider approval of the purchase of student online safety management software.
So, one of the things that we do not have in place, and we've been vetting vendors for this for a while, both internally and also getting some guidance from other districts that utilize these resources. We want something that can help us monitor students that may be in need of SEL support, that may be going through some individual crises. So we vetted several vendors to look at who could help us monitor the online activity. So we wanted to make sure that the vendor could support students that are using our own devices, or even if they're using their own personal devices but are logging in through our accounts, that we could monitor any red flag text, any images that may come up, weapons, or someone cutting or something of that nature. So one of the benefits of this program that we're looking at is we're also in need of a new 24/7 anonymous reporting tool. Our contract with our other vendor, Qualtrics, expires in August. Gaggle is the vendor that we looked at. They're the only ones that offered both the anonymous reporting tool and also could offer that 24/7 monitoring support from live individuals. So if they get the alert, they would then notify a district team, emergency team, which would be myself, law enforcement, and other district officials. And then we will work directly with our campus administrators to help identify the students. We've vetted several platforms that were compatible with our student technology devices, our online accounts, and the Google Suite applications. So if a student is doing work, say in Google Docs, or they're typing, or they're doing something perhaps in the Google Sheets, anything of that nature, or sending an email to another student, any type of red flag language or images would pop up. They vet them through their system. Anything that they would deem credible and immediate attention that would be required for it, they would then contact us, and then we would then act on it. We've really been looking for something like this for a while. There are several other campuses, and when we've gone to the trainings and conferences, Gaggle has been one of those programs that we've been looking to get. And fortunately, we do have the local funding now to help us with that. So the need to purchase the Student Online Management Software Program was presented and recommended to our district staff, our District Safety and Security Committee, the committee composed of administration. There was a subcommittee composed of administration and both operational and instructional technology staff to evaluate the different vendors. We had them demo them. We were able to ask the questions, talk a little bit about the contracts. One of the things that we're not able to do now because of changes in the accounting law is that we cannot go into multi-year contracts anymore with software. So we really had to look for the best value for the 1-year term, and then moving forward, what is that going to look like every year? So Gaggle was able to give us a proposal that would amount to $77,599. That first year cost would include the setup fee and then training. After that, those costs would then disappear on the yearly amount. Purchase of this safety online resource would be funded through local funds, and we're asking that the board approve the recommendation to purchase Gaggle to provide the district with the student online safety management program at a cost of $77,599.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Daniel and Joe. You second?
Yes.
Okay. You said the District Safety and Security Committee, is that the one that we have parents on also?
Yes.
And so they were in on the discussion for this?
Correct. And the
Okay.
projects that were coming up with additional funds, either through grants or through the bonds, we kind of started prioritizing what are those things we need. Because bullying is such a big deal, we don't have anyone to monitor 24/7. So that's one of the things that this company is able to do.
And the parents were pleased
I
with
didn't see
that?
any, I don't think we had any pushback.
No.
Okay.
Miss Bernal was part of that as well
Yeah.
as Mr. Diaz.
Okay. And then when we were at the Summer Leadership Conference, one of the presenters talked about at their school district, they have some ability that in the morning when the kids get to school, they have some kind of a process where they rate their feelings for that day, and they'll say, you know, I'm sad, I feel scared, I think one was even I'm hungry, something, you know, basic, right? Is that something that this could help us with? Because they
I
said
could
it
look
really,
into that.
they
Yeah.
said it really helped them direct their social workers and counselors, instead of the child having to go to the counselor's
For the
office
referral.
and be like, oh, why are you in the counselor's office? It was kind of, you know, kind of private. between
There is
them.
a therapy or an SEL component to this, but that wasn't at this point what we were looking for, but that's definitely something we can look into.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
all right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Okay, thank you, Mark. Consider approval of purchase of classroom phones and service.
Yes, this is kind of still piggybacking on the safety. Also, this would probably really be of importance for teachers to have access to phones to call parents and do parent conferences, but in the figuring out a way to give them access to call another functionality for safety, to get a hold of our law enforcement, our admin, and at the same time being able to provide a service for them to contact parents and set up conferences. So Jeff's going to talk about the process he went through and the vendor we're choosing to put a phone in every classroom across the district.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for the help there, Brendan. We,
No.
as he mentioned, our priority was to make sure that our teachers and even our students can dial 911 from a classroom in case of emergencies. So our current phone system has been good to us for a long time, but to add the amount of phones that we need to add to cover our classrooms, it would require a substantial investment. And they're now going to a licensing model where we have to pay every month. And so we looked at upgrading our system, and we looked at other vendors in the area that offer hosted environments. So basically our system would live out in the cloud and our phones would check into the cloud. And so going through that, ENA, it stands for Education Networks of America. We believe it would provide the best value and give us what we need on this project. Basically, to replace our entire system initially would be significantly cheaper than just upgrading our current system to get to that point. Another great benefit is that they not only provide the phones and stuff, but they also provide the phone service, the long distance, and all that. So by doing this, beginning next year, we'd be able to cut our ties with AT&T on that. And right now, we pay about $140,000 a year to AT&T for phone service and long distance. It's a really great system from what we've seen, but most importantly, from a safety point of view, right now, if you call 911, the dispatchers get a call saying this is from Hidden Cove Elementary, for example. With the new system, it'll say this Hidden Cove Elementary, room 202, or wherever the phone call is made from. In addition, we can set the system up to notify district staff, campus staff, whoever needs to know that these calls are happening as they're happening.
Nice.
So it gives our PD a jump on helping out. Another thing we don't have now that's come up before is this would give us the ability to record calls on demand in case there's a threat of any sort that is made to a campus. So that and a bunch of other reasons, for that reason, I think it's the best choice for us. The initial cost of about $211,000 would cover the installation, the phones and such. And that would come out of the safety and security grant that Mr. Figueroa mentioned. Then moving forward, the service would be about $170,000 a year. And again, beginning next year, the AT&T costs would roll out, and this would stand on its own. So it's about $30,000 more than we pay AT&T, but it's, you know, if you look at what sticking with our current system and AT&T costs, it's about a third of the price. So For that reason, we're asking the board recommend ENA as the awarded vendor for this project.
These are all VoIP phones, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
We need a motion. Daniel?
Second.
James, second. Just out of curiosity, the safety and security grant, how much was that for?
Around 625,000.
And that was from,
That was from the state. That was one of the
State,
first
okay.
ones they put out. So we're gonna use it to do the film, and do the phones, and then we're, our bond funds is we're gonna do the fencing and some access control and some of the other things.
awesome, okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, that passes.
Thank you.
Consider approval of a lease agreement for Palo Alto College for Cass STEM High School site.
Yes. Let me pass this out to you real fast. So, like many of you know, and I know the presentation last month, we've been in discussions with the possibility of kind of returning to the original intent of Cass High School. We go back in the past, when we opened Cass High School, the idea was that we would have 9th and 10th graders stay on campus, and then their 10th and 11th, or 11th and 12th grade year, they would go to Palo Alto College. We've kind of been in discussions with Palo Alto College, and the idea is not only to take our 11th and 12th graders there, but possibly put the 9th and 10th graders there one day. We've been meeting weekly. We've had a group of individuals that have been talking this out, trying to figure out a best way to make this happen, everywhere from transportation to child nutrition to technology to the instructional piece. And the ideas that we feel like are, and I know last time we got a couple options, and working with Palo Alto and the decisions is recommending to the school board that we start juniors and seniors in January and actually move them completely over. That gives us enough time to kind of work out all of the kinks that we need to work out, and then in the fall of 2024, completely move the rest of the individuals from Cass High School, which would be your freshmen and your sophomores, over to Palo Alto College, and have Cass STEM High School actually be on campus at Palo Alto College. They do have a hall, it's the San Marcos Hall, that they have vacated. They have opened one of the state-of-the-art buildings. It's really nice, and you get a chance to go see it. So they have this whole hall that would be really given to us to take over. There's 9 classrooms there, some offices there. They also have some other spaces throughout Palo Alto College that we can use. But this fall, we would plan to get our juniors and seniors over there, working out the academics for the spring, working out how we're going to serve breakfast and lunch, and transport our seniors and our juniors. And then it will give us the spring to really pilot it and really work out the kinks. It's a little easier to work with juniors and seniors if we do run into issues than having the whole group there. And so we are in negotiations currently still with the contract. We've kind of narrowed down pricing. So going into next year, we would be there about 9 months. We start in January all the way through August, because we want to still keep it in summer for summer programming. And it's going to roughly cost us about $26,000 a month. So it's about a $200,000 investment next year for us to get our juniors and seniors over to Palo Alto. That is about 200, it's about $26,000 a month, and that doesn't include utilities. But they are going to run some meters to see what that would cost. I don't think it's going to be too much. We do have some issues that we're working out on depreciation of the building and who pays for what gets fixed if something gets broken. We feel like we should be on the hook if our students go over there and they do some damage on, whether intentionally or not. But we're still working that part out, and so we're coming to the board tonight to get approval to move forward with the planning to move our juniors and seniors to Cass STEM High School, or to Palo Alto College, starting in January. We will continue to come forward and bring you all the updates on how we're going about it. We're meeting weekly with Palo Alto and our team, and then really to prepare for next year to be fully at Palo Alto College as Cass STEM High School, setting it up there.
How is that going to affect staffing? So if you're going to have juniors and seniors over there, are we going to have a principal over there and then a principal over here and a counselor over there and a counselor over here?
That's kind of like where we don't have those answers for you right now, but common sense says we're probably going to have to split. I think our seniors and juniors might be a little more mature that they can. We already have some going over there, and there's only like maybe one aide that goes over there with them. So housing them there, being there all day, we're probably gonna have to have some staff that's gonna have to split, and the principal's gonna have to probably, for, you know, a semester, transition back and forth and working on whatever they need to work on. So yeah, that's the part where we need to still sit down and plan out. I know the principal's been out on vacation, and when she's coming back, we're really gonna sit down and meet with the teams to kind of plan that part. So each one of us, we have a group that's working on a specific item. Like I said, like how are we gonna feed our students when they're over there? What are we gonna do about physical education because their gym is down? So there's a lot of things that we wanna work out, and so we feel like it's best for us to start in January instead of this fall, so that we can work through all those things. So those are great questions. Those are still things that we need to answer.
And then we're not gonna realize any savings here while we have the freshmen and sophomores
Correct.
in our current building, right? So this is just gonna be an additional.
Correct. The real intent is to build put Cass High School in an area where it can help with recruitment. You know, one of the biggest things we talked about when we talk about recruiting at Cass is the location and what makes it different than other campuses. And really, I think this, and Dr. Ball, you can jump in when putting it at a college campus is going to be, I think, special and something that most school districts can't offer. Right out front, yes, we're going to be adding money to it to possibly make money later. But in the end is how do we embed our students into their classes already, and then we can, I'm not saying I don't want to say reduce staff out loud but how do we merge and have savings that way?
Right.
And then also grow Cass with enrollment, because that's really what the burden in on the financials are right now, is that we have, the cost is not equivalent to the students we're serving.
Okay.
Yeah, because we
And-
don't advertise like other districts do,
Yeah.
pull our kids.
Right.
That would be the one way to put in something that.
Yeah.
And that's really the way we want to grow, not necessarily from taking from our own two high schools,
Yeah.
but from other areas. That's really how we want to grow.
And when will we start having meetings with parents?
We,
Or just kind of, maybe just getting an idea of what they feel?
right, so in September, we're
Okay.
going to let the school year start, and then in September, start rolling it out to the parents, specifically to the juniors and seniors first, and then letting all the parents know.
Okay. And then we're only looking to sign a lease up until August 31st of 2025.
2025. So that'll give us the spring and a year once we get in there fully. And it's understandable for them. They were making a commitment to stay with us, but it's really just revisiting and seeing cost and like if it's still working for both of us as far as financially.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just a little concerned about, we redo our whole CASTEM program, we sell it, they're gonna be going to Palo Alto, and then on September 1st of 2025, we're back here at the 9th grade campus. So is that really a long enough, is that in our favor to do a 2025, or is that in their favor to do a 2025 date?
According to them, they usually do a 2-year deal, and so they can come back and we can meet with this. We're still up to a negotiation, so like we're asking y'all to give us the authority to kind of move forward, but still negotiate the contract.
Okay.
And I can go back and tell them that our board is not comfortable with just a year and a half. That maybe they want an opportunity to revisit, because I know this and we know this. The cost of doing business has gone up, so like just to revisit the actual base fee amount in like 2 years or 3-year increments instead of like paying this price for 5 years. I don't think they're willing to do that. So it's not about us getting moved out or kicked out. It's just a chance for them to sit down and revisit and see if it's financially beneficial for both groups.
Yeah, I just want some kind of protection for us, because I don't want to go through this whole big thing.
Correct.
And then they're like, we can get more money from somebody else, so you're out. And I mean, they were the first ones that told us we were going to be in when we started CASTEM, so I don't know that I feel comfortable thinking, oh yeah, they're going to help us. So
Okay.
maybe see what we can do to protect ourselves past the 2025 date.
Are you thinking maybe like a 3-year?
I'm thinking more, at least 3 years, because then that gives us a chance to, in the meantime, be planning to what long-term we want to do, you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, we'll share, tomorrow we're meeting with them, we'll share what our board has requested, because I know they still got to take it to their board.
Yeah, even if it meant, I mean, I would be up, and I'm just speaking for myself, but, I mean, I would be up to revisit the cost, like if they wanted to say in year 2, it would be like 10% increase, year
Okay.
3, you know, not that we would necessarily lock in this rate, but we would lock in
Okay.
the years. I mean, that's just what I'm thinking.
No, I understand. We've done that before for sure. Okay.
Brandon, I agree with Ms. Sadalkin. I do believe the same thing that she's saying. I'm a little hesitant because I don't want them to come back with any changes that will not benefit us at all in the long run.
Okay. I'll note them, and then we will make the, tomorrow when we're talking, we'll say this is what our board is requesting.
Do we think functioning off their Wi-Fi is going to be good enough for the students in the program?
You know, that's been a concern of our group. I know Jeff's here. He's been talking to them. It may be, that's why we think if we pilot with our juniors and seniors with just about 100 and see if we run into any issues. At first, we still have the ability to bring in our own internet provider if we have to.
Yeah.
Cost savings would be, we get to use theirs and it works. They were having issues with us taking our devices and getting on their network. Just
Yeah, wants to put somebody
just
else.
like for them to come over here and use ours and be on our network, we just let them use the guest. So those are the things that we really, probably in this fall, take a group of kids or a group of people over there and get on their internet and really run our softwares.
And that's how in here we had that they
Yeah.
might be able to put another T1 line in for our
Correct.
students. If we're going to put all 4, that's probably
Yeah.
could be the best option. I don't know how much that would change the.
That's kind of like, that's why we needed a little bit more time, because I think we go in the fall and run our softwares over there and see what kind of lag time we're really getting, and we may have to move forward because just getting a new provider by this fall was it's
no way.
impossible.
Yeah.
So, but maybe by January we can make that happen.
I mean,
Brandon, and are we also talking about transporting them? That's another expense we'll have.
Yes, ma'am. We will have to transport it. We're actually working on, I actually put them to work to kind of do some mock. More than likely, we'll have to have some kind of satellite sites, kind of like bring the kids to Southwest High School that are in the Scobie, McNair area, and then shuttle them over. There would be some cost there, but I don't think it's going to, right now, because it's 200 or 100, it won't be that expensive, but down the road, it could be a cost that we'll have to.
And that's only for kids that are in our district, right? So
Yeah,
if they
just
were
kids in our
coming-
district.
Living over there, they would.
Correct.
We're
Right.
not going to go pick them up.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, so there could be some additional expenses. There are going to be some soft costs that are, but I think they'll be well worth it if we continue to grow that school and have lots of students
I
come
think
to
it's a necessary investment. And so you're just asking us to give you,
We're asking us to let us continue to negotiate the contract, and then once we get to where we agree to, we'll bring it back and show you what we decide on, but we're going to take y'all's notes and make sure they're in there. If for some reason they say, no, we're not going to, let y'all do 3 years, then we'll bring that back to y'all.
In 2.5.
and-
Yeah.
half
Before
year,
we
then
sign off.
yeah, 2.5.
Yeah.
And so this is just a rough idea. We're not approving this
We're-
26, or we are approving
We're
the
approving,
26?
I'm having y'all approve that we move forward and start planning to move over juniors and seniors in January.
No, I'm saying the cost.
Oh, the cost, yes. Well, that cost is locked in besides the utilities. We need to
Okay.
deal with the utilities, but the last part where it says depreciation, like an HVAC breaks down on their building, they're gonna fix it and charge us for that. And I don't think that's fair, so we've been talking about that.
Yeah.
So that last piece is still in negotiation.
Okay.
So really the two pieces that are in negotiation is the repairs and then the timeline.
The repairs if we caused it.
Correct, yeah. If our students go in and
Yeah,
break something in the restroom on accident,
yeah.
we would fix it.
Okay.
But if they're HVAC because Snowbit hits and their chiller goes out, I don't think we should have to pay for
San
that.
Marcos Hall is old,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Can you send me those numbers, Brandon, please?
Yes, ma'am, I'll email them to you.
Thank you.
All right, did we already get the motions?
No.
Okay, we need a motion.
I'll move.
I move.
We'll let Flo move,
I'll second.
and then Joe will second. All right, any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no, thank you. Item F, consider approval to certify the 2023 safety and security audit. We will table that for right now, and then we'll move on that after closed session. Item G, consider approval of architectural firms for the 2023 bond projects, initial bond sale.
Yes, just so all the other board members know, I'm gonna let Thomas talk about it, but we formed a little committee, we interviewed for the new elementary, because we have a lot of great firms that really have done a lot of great work for us. And so we really just didn't want to decide, so we had them come in and kind of pitch their ideas and their team, and we had some really good candidates. But I will share with the board, we also have a lot of other projects, and so we sat down after we chose who we thought would best benefit us in the new elementary, and we kind of wrote out all our other projects, and then started saying, okay, this group was good at this area, let's maybe give them that. And then we have the central office, which RVK we kind of already decided on. So Thomas is just giving you that chart and showing you kind of who we decided upon, and then we're going to start moving forward. So Thomas, I don't know if you had any more to add to that.
All right, just, so the bond was $250 million. I think tomorrow and Wednesday, Mr. Chris will be selling $200 million of that. So there are a few projects that are on our 2023 bond list that are not on this list. So that's why the reason for it being the first initial sale. So going through, like he said, we had the committee that we kind of got together. One other thing I'd like to mention that Mr. Chris didn't say, the other reason for kind of dividing up the work, all of the other school districts have work coming out as well, and we don't want to overwhelm one specific person with just our work, and then on top of, because they're not going to turn work away from the other districts either, so we don't want to overwhelm them just with our stuff when they have other projects going on. So we're trying to divvy it up and make it fair and equitable across the board, more for our sake than anybody, so we know that we're going to get the right teams and the right product from the design firm. So as you see on the board background, the new elementary number 12, as we discussed earlier, Marmon Mock Architecture was selected for that. Southwest Legacy High School additions would be Pfluger Architects. They were the architect of record when it was originally built, so it made sense for them to be the one to continue that project. The Elm Creek Elementary renovation is LPA Design Studios. Southwest Elementary renovation was Garza Baumberger and Associates. Crewald Road School of the Arts renovation is Huckabee Architects. The Bob Hope Elementary additions and renovations is O'Connell Robertson. The Administration Professional Development and Admin building here on the main campus is RVK Architects. And then the Southwest High School Stadium Press Box renovation would be Pfluger Architects. So, like I said, there are still 3 jobs that we won't have the bond sales for to start. So we will come back at a later date with those.
Thomas, we've used all these in the past?
No, sir. Well,
I recognize a lot of them because a couple I don't recognize.
So Huckabee Architects is one that we have not used in the past. That is a new company, but it is Dan Luttrell, who used to be with Pfluger, is kind of their lead principal in charge. And they submitted the last time, but they didn't have a large enough office and enough registered architects in San Antonio to qualify. So they didn't even submit the last time. So now they're on it. And then O'Connell Robertson has done work. They were on our pool back for the 2006 bond. So they did work at when the Building 800 became the 6th grade campus. They had done work at that campus before. So there's a lot of new faces there. So it's not really the same team, but that is a new firm to us, everybody that's here now. LPA, that was OCO, but they turned to LPA in the middle of the last RFQ. But they've done work for us, multiple projects over the last few years. Big Country, and Indian Creek, and then they also last year did.
We've got to look at all these architects.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So, recommendation is that the board consider approval of these firms to provide architectural services for the 2023 bond project initial bond sale as listed above.
I move.
James makes the motion.
I second.
Flo seconds. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Oh, thank you. Consideration and possible adoption of a resolution authorizing the sale of 2 temporary construction easements and right-of-way to Lennar Homes of Texas Land and Construction Limited for the purpose of the construction and installation of sanitary sewer, transmission lines, and associated equipment over, across, and under the following lands in Bexar County, Texas.
Yes, ma'am. This was the item that was tabled back in May. So we have gone back and negotiated with Lennar Homes. So there's 2 different action items for legal reasons that I don't really know why we had to do it this way, but our legal team has told us. So the first one is actually just the temporary construction easement that goes away after the job is done, and it is wrapped into the fee that comes with the permanent easement. So the first, I guess, overall, both action items will be $200,000 is the term that we came to. We originally started at 40, and that when it was tabled, we went back to them and told them, look, it's got to be at least 200 for them to even look at it again. So they made it to that, and so we're bringing it back now to recommend that the board approve this I guess for this one, the temporary construction easement has no value in it. It'll be on the next item. But
Okay, so we need a motion, let's see, that the Southwest Board of Trustees adopt a resolution approving the temporary construction easement to Lennar Homes. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
For the installation of the sewer line. So we need a motion for that.
I move.
Flo?
Second.
Daniel, seconds? Okay. Any other questions about that one? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, and then the next one is approving the sale of 1.499 and .0893 acre tracts to Lennar
7-3.
Homes. What?
7-3. You said 9-3.
Well, my paper says 9.3. Is it 9.3 or 7.3?
I have 9-3.
9:30.
Thomas, we're actually selling the property or giving an easement on the property?
It's an easement. We're
Okay.
selling an easement
So
across
we're
the
not-
property.
Okay.
Looks like must be a typo on the.
But there,
handout.
when we sell the easement, there's not anything that we would ever be able to build over the top of it. We're
Right.
deeding an easement across along the fence line of Southwest Elementary,
Is
basically.
it 9.3 or 7.3?
It should be .893.
Okay.
Oh, on the.
.0893?
Okay.
Mine says .0893.
That's correct.
That's what.
Is that right, Tom?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. For a value of $200,000. I need a motion for that.
I move.
A second.
Flo seconds. Anybody have any questions, or do you need to tell us anything more about that?
No, ma'am. Like I said,
Okay.
it's difficult because there's 2 items for the same thing. So.
All right,
That was just the
so,
one where you were concerned about how close it got to the school, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
All those in favor say aye.
okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Flo. That, all opposed? Thank you. And then, let's see. We did that. Consider approval of the room add-on for Aptigee. Aptigee?
Aptigee.
Aptigee.
Yes, Aptigee is the app that we use to notify our, our
Parents?
stakeholders of things that are going on in the district. We send out alerts when we have anything that deals with crisis. And currently we have 2 platforms. We have Aptigee app that we use to send out, and we have Remind. Our teachers and other personnel use Remind to send out text messaging to students or different groups. It's a safe way to communicate with our families and our students. But what we have 2 different platforms, and so sometimes we have certain groups using this app, certain groups using this, and we want to bring that together and use one. Full transparency, we've been in negotiations with Aptigee and Remind, because we told Remind that we were coming to the board to change to Aptigee, and then Remind came in with great pricing and said they would lower their cost. And then we told Aptigee that, well, Remind is coming in with great pricing, so we're probably going to stay with Remind, and now they've come back and countered. So the $69,000 now is $44,000 to switch over to Aptigee. And the recommendation from communications team, and Roger could speak more onto it, is to switch over to Aptigee. They feel like it's a hub for communication. It brings it all to one place. It's a little bit more, I don't know.
It has more, it allows for more use of the app, so everything will be all in one spot. You can do, there's gonna be two-way messaging, so it's secure two-way messaging between parents and staff, students and staff. It has Google Classroom integration. It can do announcements and all kinds of things, all from one spot. I don't know if you ever use Remind and you're trying to get, a teacher sends an announcement like on Monday and it's for something on Friday, and now when you're going through your text messages trying to find it again, you're looking through your text messages and you can't find it because it's, encrypted with a weird, PDF or something. So in this instance, all a parent would have to do is log onto the app, which we already are telling people to be using, and then they could see everything in a nice display and be able to go back and revisit things. And everything is secured. It has archiving for communication, so this would be our one-stop shop for that.
So in essence, we already have Aptigee with the app, but having where they do our two-way communication with our families and send outs to Aptigee and getting rid of Remind. So we don't have two products and paying for two different products, and some people using this one and some group using this other product.
I don't need to use Remind because, my kids are not in school anymore, but is that like a text, do they get text messages?
What they will
or-
get is a push notification from the app, so we will have to have a rollout for the app to campaign to get people to download the app to be able to communicate better. It'll help a lot of our it'll help with the having to use text messaging between the parents and the teachers, because sometimes you can either use Remind app or you can use text messaging. And so depending if you have the notifications turned on Remind, it is a little bit more, when you're using Remind, it has a little bit more, you have to do things in order for it to come out. So at least with the app, we can just say the app has where everything you need to go, and then you're set. So it's a little bit more easier to use.
So with the app, if there's an emergency, then whoever has the app on their phone will get an alert.
No, they will also get a text message if there's an emergency,
Okay.
and actually this will help us with that kind of communication. Right now, when we do have to send out, emergency information, I'm usually the one that sends it out. Jenny will do the messaging, and I'll throw it out there. And I'm doing everything through the app, but then I also have to stop there and then go to Remind and then send out the text messages as well. So at least with this, I can do everything in one spot, push one button, and I'll send it out to everything. Text message, push notification, email, all that stuff.
So we're gonna, if this gets approved, then we'll start tomorrow pushing out on social media that Remind is gonna be no longer.
We were gonna have.
I'm not sure if it will be tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, like. right
Yes,
away.
we'll start trainings and things like that, and then we'll obviously put out a lot of information about the app and how to download it. We'll have flyers available for registration dates, things like that, and we can even do some tutorials and stuff like that.
We'll do a whole campaign to make sure that people are aware of that.
This would definitely be ready by beginning of the school year.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
We'll make sure all the board gets the app too.
Okay. So we need a motion to approve the purchase of Aptigee rooms add-on.
I move.
James motions.
I'll second.
Joe will second.
James will second.
Joe?
And on here, it says 69,000, but you said it was less?
Yes, ma'am. Today we were in negotiations because we were told them that Remind came in at a better price, and then they countered. So they went exactly how we would want it to go for the district.
So we need to have a correction on this form, or y'all already have one and I don't know.
If it was over, then I would need to bring it back to y'all, but it's actually under. It actually falls below the 50,000 mark as well, but we're getting y'all to approve it anyway, so y'all know that we're gonna be doing this. But it's actually a lot cheaper than what we're gonna have to pay for.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, thank you. No items under curriculum instruction, so Dr. Ball, do you have anything before we go into closed session?
Yes, I'd like to thank the team, Thomas and Brandon, because going from 40,000 to 200,000 for those easements, that was a great job. I'd like to thank Jenny and Roger for getting the prices down on things, so great job on getting more money for the district.
That's right.
Awesome. All right, so as permitted by sections 551.001-551.146 of the Texas Government Code, we will go into closed session at 7:10. We're going to call the meeting back into open session at, what time? 8:24. Do I do this? Okay. We're going to go back to item 7F. Consider approval to certify the 2023 safety and security audit.
Good evening again, Board. Want to review the compliance piece for Senate Bill 11, which came about in 2005 and required school districts to conduct safety and security audits of all of its facilities every 3 years. We just completed our 2023 audit cycle. We had a vendor, Centurion Solutions, who's actually been providing audits for the past 4 cycles. They conducted audits on 19 instructional and 11 non-instructional district sites. Costs for the safety and security audit services provided were $32,640, and we use budgeted local funds for these services. As presented in closed session, presented the findings, and we are asking now that the board certify the findings for 2023 safety and security audit as presented by Centurion Solutions.
Okay. Need a motion?
I move.
I'll second.
We're going to give Flo the motion and Mr. Diaz second. Do we have any other questions for Mr. Figueroa? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. That passes. And moving on to superintendent personnel.
I move that we approve the, we move to approve the superintendent's recommendations on employment
Second.
Personnel.
and personnel.
Okay.
Second.
James, seconds. Okay, do you have any questions on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Thank you. Other business. Dr. Ball, any other business? Last closing words?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
Am I supposed to?
Lloyd would say like, one last thing.
Well, they just usually go.
Oh, yes, you're invited to all our events.
Okay.
We're having convocation. We're having convocation. We're having.
16th of August.
Yeah, thank you. The 16th of August, first day of school, August 21st. You're also invited to the new teacher luncheon that we're having, but you'll get some more information about that next week, where we're going to have our administrative retreat.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. So you all have that little calendar in front of you. Flo, you have anything you want to add to the meeting?
No, thank you very much for getting my Zoom on here.
You're welcome. All right, since there's no other business, we will adjourn this meeting at 8:27. Thank you.